After yesterday's incident, Hart was summoned to the teacher's room. When he arrived, instead of being reprimanded, the teachers were amazed that Hart had defeated Halfen Schneider. It seemed they weren't too fond of the nobleman's son either. However, Hart had hoped to be expelled from school. After leaving the room, Hart walked away in frustration. Other students who saw him were already aware of the news that Hart had defeated Schneider in a single attack. Hart couldn't bear it, and he just wanted to lock himself in his room. On his way, he ran into Terrietta, who stopped him. Like yesterday, Terrietta invited him to join her class. Unfortunately, the one who came to school yesterday was a clone of Hart. So the real Hart didn't know what Terrietta had talked about. Hart replied that he had forgotten the conversation from yesterday and excused himself to leave. However, it wasn't that easy. Terrietta insisted on explaining everything once again. Terrietta explained that there were two departments at this academy. The first one was the Knight department, where they learned how to use magic in training classes. This department would help students become a source of military power, knights, or soldiers for the country in the future. The other one was the research department, where they mostly stayed in laboratories, creating magic or seeking new uses for magic. Judging from the entrance exam, Hart seemed interested in ancient magic. If that was the case, he would be a good fit for Terrietta's class. Nevertheless, Hart still refused. Coincidentally, Laius ran into the two of them in the hallway. This was the first time they had met in a long time. However, Hart didn't realize that the person was Laius. He instead immobilized Laius, thinking he was suddenly attacking. Shortly after, Marianne came to reprimand Laius for his rude way of greeting. Hart finally realized that both Laius and Marianne were from the royal family. He hadn't expected Laius to be such a muscular man, while Marianne remained as beautiful as ever. Afterward, Marianne asked if Hart had decided which department he wanted to join. When she found out Hart hadn't chosen yet, Marianne invited him to join her research class. However, Laius also wanted Hart to join the same class as him. Not to forget, Terrietta had wanted Hart in her class from the beginning. The three of them started arguing. Suddenly, the white-haired girl from yesterday also crossed paths with them. Of course, she didn't come to invite him to the same class. The girl had only a few matters to discuss with Hart. For some reason, she seemed unable to articulate her concerns here. Hart saw this as an opportunity to escape. He pretended that he had an appointment with the girl, and they quickly left in a hurry. Marianne became both jealous and panicked seeing Hart with that girl. After successfully escaping, Hart asked the girl what she wanted to discuss. But before that, the girl had one question. She wanted to know if the Hart of today and yesterday were the same person. Hart was certainly surprised when she said that. Unconsciously, Hart entered a state of alertness and activated his protective magic. Somehow, the girl also realized that Hart was using protective magic. She couldn't see it, but she could feel it slightly. Then, Hart wanted to confirm what was different about him today compared to yesterday. The girl replied that she didn't sense any magical energy from Hart yesterday, while today's Hart had pressure that could launch him. Hart became suspicious that this girl might be more sensitive to magical energy than others. The last person who mentioned Hart having pressure was Flay. Hart became suspicious of something. Out of curiosity, Hart asked if the girl was of demon descent. For some reason, the girl panicked and began to feel her body. In reality, she didn't look like a demon at all. She wanted to ask why Hart had thought of that possibility, but she decided against it. The girl firmly stated that she was human. Otherwise, she could get into trouble. Her statement did sound ambiguous, but Hart decided he didn't need to be wary of her. Hart replied that it was better for the girl to assume that yesterday's and today's Hart were the same. The girl understood and didn't ask further. However, that wasn't her only concern with Hart. First of all, she wanted to apologize and thank him for what happened yesterday with Schneidel. Lastly, the girl had a request. She begged Hart to become her friend. Hart reflexively said yes, to confirm the girl's statement. However, she took it as Hart accepting her request. The girl was very happy because this was the first time she had a friend. She told Hart that she had been abandoned since birth. Worse yet, she had been abandoned multiple times by different people. Hart wondered why the girl had been continuously abandoned. There must be a reason for it. Upon recollection, when she was still a baby, the girl uttered a sentence to communicate. Hart was certain that was the cause. He also remembered when he, as a baby, had tried to speak. Logically, others must have been startled to see a talking baby. Moving on to the girl's story, she was eventually taken in by a monastery. However, she still wasn't treated well there. The only kind priest to her passed away when she was 5 years old. The monastery was located in a remote area and had little communication with the outside world. This was why the girl had difficulty grasping what was considered normal in social interactions. She wanted to have a friend to learn these things. Unfortunately, it seemed she had chosen the wrong person. Hart himself didn't have any friends. He always isolated himself. Strangely, the girl became enthusiastic about learning with Hart. By the way, Hart became curious about what department the girl had chosen at the academy. When he asked, it turned out she had chosen to enter the class for researching ancient magic. Out of all the classes, she had chosen Tierietta's class. Therefore, Hart finally decided to join that class as well. One more thing, Hart realized that the girl hadn't introduced herself yet. Once again, Hart introduced himself. The girl also remembered that she should introduce herself before engaging in social interactions. On the other hand, Flay, Char, and Lisa were currently soaking in the hot spring bath in the wooden house. Char and Flay felt very lonely without Hart there. Suddenly, Char shouted that she had received a heart whisper. She felt that Hart was experiencing something interesting. She then left the bath. Meanwhile, Flay continued to complain about not being allowed to go with Hart. Despite her complaints, Flay resigned herself to simply enjoying the hot water. Lisa didn't expect Flay to change her mind so quickly. Indeed, a servant's duty was to be by their master's side. However, Hart currently didn't desire that. Unlike Flay, Lisa didn't particularly like working under others. That's why she was often alone. According to her, Flay was currently enjoying her life. Flay explained that she used to work with the Demon King and was tasked with uniting the demon races. The Demon King had become like a friend to Flay. He was a kind person who prioritized demons and other monsters. However, because of his kindness, he often argued with other demons about their treatment of humans. Flay often came to mediate between them. The Demon King had an idealistic vision of creating a place where humans and demons could live together. Upon recollection, it was clear that he had always planned to stand against Princess Giselot, the Lightning Princess. When Giselot attacked, he had already instructed other demons to leave as if he knew of her arrival. For the sake of his idealism, he sacrificed himself. Flay believed that he had planned to be reborn as a human. In other words, he wanted to become a human to change human thinking from within. Due to Hart's previous words, Flay still believed that Hart was the reincarnation of the Demon King. When Flay asked him about the Demon King from the past, Hart replied that he didn't remember his past life before reincarnation. However, there was one thing that made Flay believe. The Demon King of old always abbreviated the names of demons. That's why Flay was surprised when Hart gave her the name Flay, which was an abbreviation of Flame Fenrir. At that moment, Flay almost slipped and mentioned her name from before reincarnation. The Demon King's name was Iristhelia. Returning to Hart, the girl informed him that her name was Iristhelia. Hart felt her name was too long, so he shortened it to Iris. Iris suddenly laughed because she also liked to shorten other people's names. She said it brought back memories. Initially, Hart wanted to excuse himself. However, Iris invited him to choose their subjects together. Hart suggested they do it in his room. When they returned to his room, he didn't expect Char to be there. Char was also surprised that Hart had brought a girl to his room. Hart quickly clarified that Iris was just his friend. Hart then introduced Char and Iris to each other. As previously discussed, Hart and Iris together selected the subjects they wanted to pursue. However, Hart used a die to make the choices. Iris was naturally puzzled by Hart's strange behavior. Over time, Hart found this to be more troublesome and handed the task of filling out the forms to Char. Before long, Char had completed it. Hart felt greatly relieved and didn't even check what Char had chosen. By the way, Hart was curious about why Char had come here. When he asked, Char replied that her purpose for coming here had already been fulfilled. She then bid farewell to leave. However, Hart couldn't show Iris the teleportation door. In an instant, Hart quietly moved behind Iris to cover her eyes. This way, Char could safely use the teleportation door.